One quarterback to another, Deshaun Watson's hearing before the NFL and NFL Players Association jointly appointed disciplinary officer Sue Robinson is scheduled to begin today. Robinson will be listed as the NFL expects a lengthy suspension, or is asking for a lengthy suspension for Watson, while the NFLPA defends the Browns quarterback. So, Dan, let's talk about this issue. What kind of timetable should we expect as the Watson hearing is set to begin?
That's the big mystery, because this is the first time, Ryan, under the personal conduct policy that this discipline officer has been called into action, so to speak. This was a feature of the new CBA signed in 2020, the PA pushing for neutral arbitrator for discipline, and they got it. So this is the first personal conduct policy that's gotten to this point. So we're all going to learn about this together, and that means us, that means the NFLPA, that means the NFL. They don't know how it's going to work or how long she's going to take. I can tell you this, she's already gone over some of the evidence. She's already had some pre-trial briefings, and now she'll hear the cases from both sides today. It's possible that hearing could spill over into another day or two. It's also possible it could end today. In terms of when she'll rule, it drives me crazy to be on television and say, I don't know, but I don't, because no one does. And you know, the hope from all sides is to have something done by training camp, which is a month away. And it's obviously reasonable to expect that, but obviously we can't know for sure because we haven't seen her process.
Yeah, stuff I think people have to understand. There's a new person in a new role. We don't know their precedent or how fast they work. They've got all the information in, but still it could take some time. It could be short, it could be long. We'll see how it plays out. Now, I have to imagine that we got to this point because there was no settlement between the NFL and Deshaun Watson. So what might we expect as far as discipline is concerned?
My understanding is the NFL is going to push for a suspension of the full season, at least. And the settlement talks didn't really go anywhere. Watson's people had been of the position that he shouldn't be punished at all. He did nothing wrong. The league says, they won a year, so they really weren't able to make a lot of progress. And not that, it still could happen. Like, as you well know, a settlement could happen at any point. It just doesn't sound like either side expects that at this point. So the league will argue for the full year suspension. The Players Association will argue that that doesn't fit with any kind of precedent, and that they don't hold owners to the same standard as players. And we'll see if that carries the day, because that argument from the PA has never really worked with the NFL, but now this is a fresh set of ears.
Yeah, you never know how that fresh set of ears might hear that information and whether that could change this landscape. And you know how this works. I give a declarative statement, and Graz over here is going to tell me if it's an overreaction or not. So, Odell Beckham still won't be on a team by week one. Overreaction or not?
I think that's not an overreaction. It's not that he couldn't be, but he's less than 5 months removed from suffering a serious knee injury in the Super Bowl, and obviously that has cooled his market a bit. He became a father for the first time this offseason, seems to be enjoying that. So it may not be a bad idea for Odell Beckham to wait a little while, have part of the season unfold, and then see what his market is like. That is not out of the question.
Yeah, heal up and still get paid. Deebo Samuel will not be a 49er this season.
I say that's an overreaction. I think it was a very strong sign that he was at their minicamp. My understanding is they've had conversations. They feel like they can get a deal done. Niners have some other business to take care of. They have some cap issues. Jimmy Garoppolo is still sitting there on the cap, and they want to get an extension done also with Nick Bosa. But I do think ultimately they can find a resolution with Deebo.
See, I'm glad you brought up Jimmy G, because my next question is, Jimmy Garoppolo will be a 49er this season. Overreaction or not?
I think that's an overreaction. They were planning to trade him in March before he had the surgery on his throwing shoulder. Still hasn't thrown since the surgery. Is scheduled to do that sometime in the next couple of weeks, and the 49ers hope there will be a trade market for him. If not, they may end up having to release him, because his salary, that $24 million salary, will become fully guaranteed if he's on their roster week one. And again, they're probably not going to be able to afford to carry that.
Doesn't do wonders for his leverage around the league. But let's get back. I want to stop down on this Jimmy Garoppolo situation, bring in Sacho as well, Sam Acho joining us. Hey, just set it up for us, Dan. How robust is the trade market for Jimmy G?
Well, it's not. And look, the hope was in March that they could find a market for him, but he had that surgery. And now other teams that may have been interested or were interested have moved on to other options. So you have, obviously, the Carolina Panthers still have an unsettled situation at quarterback, the Seattle Seahawks, but they're not going to trade him to the Seahawks. They're in the same division. So it's not a very robust market. The Niners were looking for, from what I understand, a second-round pick plus something else back in March. Don't know if they can get that at this point. And again, there are teams out there that are convinced that they're going to have to cut him. And I mean, if you're the Seahawks, right, that's what you're waiting for, because then you can sign him for whatever you want.
It's amazing. I think in many ways they tanked his leverage by doing that. I would have maybe done it differently, not said anything, but cat's out of the bag now. So, Sam, I think the conventional wisdom here is that they should move on from Jimmy G. What do you say to that?
I say if you are going to move on, you need to wait at least for now, right? Everyone talks about leverage. Well, the longer you wait, I understand there's a deadline of week 1. The longer you wait, the more other teams realize they may not have that quarterback that they need. The quarterbacks that they drafted, the quarterbacks that they traded for, whether you're talking about Seattle, Carolina, you might realize you have issues. And so hold on to Jimmy G, number 1, for the trade value piece. And number 2, no one wants anyone to get injured, but if in case of an injury to Trey Lance or something, at least you have some kind of insurance.
It's an interesting point, but then I wonder, Dan, about the Jimmy G part of this, because he's sitting there, he's already basically told the fan base he's out of here. How does he stand in all of this?
Well, he actually has a fair bit of leverage, right? Because anybody who trades for him, or if the 49ers did want to keep him, they probably have to make some sort of adjustment to the contract. No one's going to want to pay him $25 million this year. So maybe you talk about spreading it out over a couple of years. But he doesn't have to agree to do that. Right, he could say, go ahead and cut me and I can pick my next destination. That might cost him money, but he's made a lot of it, and it may be that he would prefer to pick where he plays next. So he has a decent amount of leverage in all of this.
Yeah, Sam, put yourself in Jimmy G's shoes. You've already done so well for this team. You've led them to the NFC Championship. Now you're being told Trey Lance is going to take your job. How does that make you feel if the Niners say, hey, look, why don't you stay and we'll see what we can do?
Hey, I feel great because I got $24 million guaranteed coming in September. When Jimmy G starts, the San Francisco 49ers win 70% of their games. They average 28 points. And so Jimmy G is a proven winner in the NFL. And so if you want to cut me, fine, cut me. I'll go play somewhere else. If you don't want to trade me now, that's fine. But I know by the time that week 1 comes, my money will be guaranteed. So I am A-OK. I am not taking a pay cut. I'm actually in the catbird seat right now.
Really good point. He's in the best position. The only one who's not in a great position are the 49ers. We'll see. Okay, so, Zach, I know you're skeptical about this Nets team, but let's live in a world where Ben Simmons, KD, and Kyrie are all healthy. They're all playing full time. In your mind, what can this team be?
What has that world existed? Where is that world? Are we on it? Is it this planet? Is this team a championship caliber team? We just saw the Celtics sweep the Nets out of the playoffs. Did people forget that happened? I realize Ben Simmons didn't play that series. The Celtics aren't going anywhere. The Bucks aren't going anywhere. The Clippers are reloading. They just are probably getting John Wall. The Nuggets are back. The Warriors aren't going anywhere. Can this team be championship contenders? I mean, maybe on paper, sure. There are actual basketball games on an actual basketball court where these things get decided, and I'm just tired of talking about what the Nets could be if. The Nets have never been, except for one playoff series against the Celtics with Harden, Kyrie, and KD when they were completely unstoppable. We've never seen it. Ben Simmons hasn't played basketball since he passed up a dunk to dump it off to Matisse Thybulle. That was the end of his Sixers tenure. He hasn't played since then. Kyrie Irving played 29 games last year. They got swept in the playoffs. All these other teams are doing normal basketball things and building normal championship teams that play basketball. The Nets, for me, are out of that tier until we see it, and I'm not talking about it until we see it.
I've been as big a Nets skeptic as anybody, and for all that Zach said, and he's right about all of it, they were this much of Kevin Durant's foot away from potentially winning a title 2 years ago. The talent is there.
2 years ago. Who cares? I don't care anymore.
Hey, I was the one saying all last year this team was not good enough. I agree with you. But from their perspective, this is what they wanted. Kyrie's back on a one-year deal. It's time for them to prove it.
We'll see if they can prove it. And you know what? We are far from done in talking about KD, Kyrie, and all of this. What a story this is. Kyrie back in Brooklyn. Okay, let's move over to another borough in New York, the Yanks. Look at them. Best record in baseball, had to come back of the night. A's, Yankees, bottom 4. Yankees trailing 5-1. Giancarlo Stanton at the plate. And boom, solo shot left center. 18th of the year. Yankees trail 5-2. Take it to the bottom of the 7th. Yankees down 2, trailing 5-3. Aaron Judge at the plate, runner on first, 1 out. And Judge grounds into what looks to be a double play. But watch this. The play is stopped. Take another look at this. Catcher Sean Murphy interferes with Judge's swing. So instead of an inning-ending double play, the Yanks have first and second, one out. Anthony Rizzo hit by a pitch. Stanton's back up. Now bases loaded. Stanton fouls off a pitch, but immediately points to the dugout to get it reviewed. Look again. Murphy interferes again. Stanton sent the first. DJ LeMahieu comes in to score. Yanks trail 5-4, and look at Murphy saying, oh boy. Josh Donaldson now up, bases still loaded, and boom, lines it into left. Base hit, 2 runs coming to score. Yanks up 6-5. 2 batters later, Jose Trevino up. Runners at second and third. 2 outs. Hits it right to left, bounces off the wall. Another 2 runs come in. Yanks go on to score 6, count them 6 in the 7th inning, and they win it 9-5. And look, New York has the best record in baseball, and they continue to find ways to win, especially late. Yesterday was their 3rd come-from-behind win in the past 5 days. They now have, overall, 23 comeback wins this season. Top